Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've been tracking the markets lately, you've probably noticed the recent news about analyst downgrades hitting a major CRM platform. But here's what is truly fascinating about that. Those downgrades, they aren't about a lack of AI capabilities. They're actually all about data readiness. Today, we're taking a deep dive into why so many enterprise AI deployments are stalling out. And spoiler alert, it is absolutely not the AI model's fault. We're going to explore some pretty eye-opening data that reveals how accumulated complexity, things like dirty data, tangled objects, and sprawling customizations, is the real bottleneck holding back your next big initiative.
So let's just bust a massive myth right out of the gate, okay? There's this prevailing idea that AI is going to magically parachute in and fix our broken, tangled enterprise workflows. But going back to that readiness issue, the reality is that your systems, your CRMs, your databases, are often just way too tangled for AI to even read them in the first place. It is not a question of model intelligence, it's entirely a question of system legibility. You don't necessarily need another standalone tool. You just need the infrastructure you already have to be readable and connected.
To really grasp this, we have to approach the problem with a bit of empathetic irony. Andy Mowat, co-founder at GTM Council, absolutely nailed it. He pointed out that working in modern CRM platforms has basically become an archaeological dig rather than agile development. Your team is out there excavating layers of past decisions, old fields, forgotten automations, custom rules, just trying to figure out what's actually still alive before they dare touch a single line of code.
And we've got the data to prove this archaeological metaphor is spot on. Based on an analysis of over 12,000 real interactions across more than 200 organizations, the data shows operators spend the vast bulk of their time simply investigating what already exists. Over a third of the top questions being asked are just people trying to get their bearings. About 11% is general investigation, another 11% is just data analysis, and 10% is purely tracing hidden dependencies. People are just begging to know what triggers this and what breaks if I change it. When you group all of those investigative interactions together, it creates a frankly mind-blowing delivery funnel. A massive 80.4% of activity is trapped in the discover phase, just reconstructing context. Another 18.4% is spent in design, which means trying to scope changes safely. That leaves a microscopic 1.2% of activity for actual build mode. Think about that for a second. Execution isn't the constraint here. Finding the context to execute safely is. And you know what this lack of system legibility creates? Pure, unfiltered administrative anxiety. We can actually see this anxiety right in the timestamps. An incredible 7.6% of all system activity is happening late at night, between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. local time.
When the company's Slack finally goes quiet and daytime interruptions stop, that is when operators are desperately trying to untangle the web. These are actual, paraphrased questions from real after-hours interactions. At 2 a.m., they're hunting for duplicated logic. At 3 a.m., they're terrified of triggering inadvertent emails. They're chasing invisible system behaviors in the middle of the night simply so they don't break production the next morning.
You can literally see the ghosts in the machine when you realize that 7.1% of all these interactions reference legacy warning labels left behind by past employees. We're talking about fields and flows labeled with frantic all-caps warnings. Seriously, labels that literally say deprecated or do not modify. Listen, when a warning like do not modify essentially becomes a standard naming convention in your org, your system has ceased to be a flexible tool. It has accumulated so much complexity, brick by brick, that it's become a fragile artifact. It is completely opaque and highly resistant to any kind of change, whether that change is coming from a human or an AI agent.
And this friction applies even to highly structured, well-planned projects. Take a workflow migration, for example. Teams know exactly what they want to do, yet the vast majority of the effort, a whopping 82%, is spent in the design phase, just generating mapping documents and plans to do it safely. Actually building the migration, that's just 0.6% of the effort. The plan to act safely has literally become the product.
This constant, agonizing need to reconstruct context from scratch creates a hidden velocity tax. A task that should realistically take 1 hour if you have full system context suddenly explodes into an 11-hour marathon because you are flying entirely blind. A gap in understanding forces your team to restart their investigation at every single stage, every single sprint, and every single change. And let's be very clear, this tax isn't just some clever metaphor. It has a literal, quantifiable dollar value. Because your admins are spending so much time reconstructing lost context, it invisibly drains between $42,000 and $70,000 annually per admin. This is exactly why headcount often scales up in IT and ops without any proportional increase in output. You are literally paying for archaeology, not engineering.
Haris Odobasic really hit the nail on the head here. He points out that the velocity tax is a silent killer of the investment thesis. Boards and executives plan for robust 20% growth, but they are totally blind to the fact that their highly paid admins are spending 80% of their time just reconstructing what the previous admin built. Tech debt is not just a failure of past employees. It is a massive structural barrier to your company's growth, and you absolutely must clean it up before you try to add AI into the mix.
All of this constant untangling creates what we call the Agentforce paradox. When companies first adopt AI tools to generate automations, it looks amazing. Interactions are highly focused on proactive planning and design. But as the AI generates more and more metadata, the trajectory predictably shifts. Teams quickly crash right back into reactive discovery, trying to untangle the massive pile of inherited complexity that the AI just built for them. Because here is the hard truth. AI actually amplifies complexity. Having an AI that can generate fields, flows, and code at lightning speed absolutely increases your system's surface area, but it does absolutely nothing to improve your underlying understanding of how all those pieces actually fit together. If you aren't careful, deploying AI generation tools is just going to trap your team in a permanent, high-speed state of system discovery. To actually deploy AI successfully and get the ROI you expect, we have to completely flip the script. We have to move from a state without system visibility, where hidden dependencies pop up mid-execution and risk tolerance is zero, to a state of high system visibility. When you have high visibility, execution confidence actually skyrockets. You aren't guessing anymore. The dependencies are mapped out and clear, meaning your rate of safe change goes way up.
Look, to put it simply, you have to clean the house before you run the robot vacuum. You cannot unleash AI agents in a dirty, tangled CRM and expect good results. You need a continuous, queryable map of your system's metadata. We need to build the rails so your AI agents don't just go flying off them the moment they encounter a weird legacy business rule. So, how do we fix it? We connect 3 distinct phases into one modern workflow. First, discover instantly by having a continuously updated blueprint of your system. Second, design with full context by making structured plans grounded in real dependencies. And third, build without restarting, implementing those changes with reality carried right through to deployment. Doing this compresses a fragmented, months-long modernization lifecycle into mere hours. This is where specialized AI, specifically context-aware metadata agents, becomes an absolute game changer. Instead of just generating more code to sift through, these agents map your system's existing complexity. They read the metadata, trace the dependencies, and connect the entire delivery lifecycle. It allows your human operators to safely operate at scale, acting with complete confidence instead of the constant fear of breaking something. So I want you to take a hard, honest look at your own enterprise CRM environments. Is your CRM a clean, well-mapped foundation that's actually ready for the future of AI? Or is it a fragile artifact, held together by duct tape and do not modify labels, just waiting to ruin an admin's weekend at 3 a.m.? System legibility is your real bottleneck. Fix that and the AI will take care of itself. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.